to Atlanta where the players play and we ride on the
Alright, we're coming in hot today. I like it. Throw them bows, dirty South. What's on the agenda though? What are we talking about? It's gotta be good based on that intro.
Welcome to Atlanta where the players
No, that cannot be right. There's no way in hell that this is a serious discussion. We've been here before. We've done this before. Twice actually. And each time it has ended rather poorly. Atlanta may want to give hockey a third shot here, but under no circumstances should that happen. No way, no how. We've seen this movie before, and it sucked. Now, people want to provide a reasoning for why it sucked, and so be it, but that doesn't change anything, nor should it be used as justification for giving the same sucky thing another chance. Eventually, you just have to move on and accept reality. That reality, in this case, is that Atlanta and hockey just don't work. But hey, let's humor the ATL. What exactly do these latest plans entail? Local media reports have it that Forsyth County is trying to woo the National Hockey League to suburban Atlanta. Like uber suburban, like closer to South Carolina than Atlanta suburban. That's a bit of an exaggeration, but not by all that much. Anyway, local officials there are working on a proposal that would provide $40 million in public subsidies to a developer wanting to build a $2 billion hockey arena that would anchor a massive mixed-use development. The plan for a hockey facility would only happen should the city land an NHL expansion franchise. Look, the plan seems fine, although why a developer who's already going to make a shit ton of money on this mixed-use development would need any sort of public assistance is a mystery to me. I mean, if you can afford $1.6 billion, finding the remaining dollars shouldn't be all that difficult, especially considering the public money is going to fund an arena for a sport that has failed in Atlanta not once, but twice. That's not the biggest issue here, at least for me. I have a far greater problem with the fact that there are several other more deserving locations that should be in consideration for an NHL expansion team. Obviously, Quebec already has an NHL ready arena and a fan base that would lose its mind should the sport ever return. And given the dodgy way Quebec lost its NHL team in the first place, they should be at the top of any list when it comes to NHL expansion discussions. Look, I understand Seattle and Vegas getting their teams ahead of Quebec City, but right now, I mean, Atlanta over Quebec? Get out of here. We all know Gary Bettman does hate Quebec for whatever reason, so even if the Nordiques do not get a lifeline, there are still other places that should also be ahead of ATL. Salt Lake City seems like a great place for hockey, even though I find the city to be an unimpressive snooze fest. Houston has some quirky hockey history with Gordie Howe in the Arrows, but the reality is that the NHL would choose this based on just the huge market size and potential the sport could have down there. Hartford, also deserving of a second chance if they can ever get a stadium plan together and off the ground. I don't know how realistic that is, but if they have one in hand and they're ready to build, put them ahead of Atlanta for sure. What hockey or what the NHL really needs at this point in time is more Canadian teams. And I'm saying that as an American, as an outsider. You know, I enjoy Tim Hortons as much as the next guy, but I'm not just trying to champion my country here. I'm actually don't have any dog in the fight when it comes to Canada versus America hockey teams. That being said, as a hockey fan, not just someone supporting a local team in a local town, you cannot argue the fact that watching those teams in Canada, especially during the regular season, is far more interesting than your Carolina Hurricanes and your Nashville Predators and your Tampa Bay Lightning. Those teams are unwatchable in the regular season. They're just uninteresting. No one wants to watch a Southeastern Division team by and large during the regular season, unless you are from the city they happen to be based in. But games from Calgary, Edmonton, Montreal, Toronto, even in the regular season, they're just far more engaging. They're far more enjoyable as a neutral viewer, as someone who just wants to watch quality hockey. Maybe it's the fan bases, maybe it's just the aesthetic presentation, I don't know. There's just something there that maybe can't be measured, that's maybe just an intangible about the NHL in Canada that is better than the NHL in some American markets. If it's not going to be Quebec, firstly, that's BS, and secondly, okay, so be it, whatever. There are still other places to consider, but I want to return to that point in a bit. Now, it's time to focus on the reason Atlanta thinks it deserves a third shot at hosting an NHL franchise, and namely, that being the first two failures weren't really the fans' fault, per se. That is certainly true to a certain extent. The failures of the Atlanta Flames had quite a bit to do with the Omni shortcomings as just an arena in general. Those Flames did fine for the first few years, but things began to unravel due to the Omni's lack of premium seating and just a few other issues the team had towards the end of the 1970s. The Flames, of course, would move to Calgary, something that has been a net positive for the National Hockey League by and large, and then some years later, the Thrashers would show up. Those poor Atlanta Thrashers, they were hamstrung by the AOL Time Warner merger, which begat some of the most low-key, terrible ownership in sports history. Then again, WCW, World Championship Wrestling, was another victim of the AOL Time Warner merger, and it has never since returned either.
I now own WCW.
No. That doesn't count, and you know that doesn't count. Even if hockey in Atlanta wasn't undone by Shane McMahon or the city's fans, sometimes in life you just have to move on and give someone else a chance. Should the NHL expand to like 40 teams or something crazy? Yeah, sure, why not? Give Atlanta its third chance. I don't have a problem with that. But right now, today, ATL, absolutely not. Back of the line. The city has had hockey twice, and twice those franchises have retreated to Canada. The same place the NHL should be going with the next new franchise. As a fan, I have zero interest in league revenues or an American television contract or any of the things that have zero impact on the on-ice product. Never once have I or any hockey fan in the world ever have watched a NHL game and said something along the lines of, wow, I sure hope those ratings in the Minneapolis-St. Paul market are skyrocketing now so the league can net a bigger television contract down the road. No one cares about that. Not important. A good on-ice product, an exciting league with rivalries and stars and all of that good stuff sells itself. With streaming and all of that noise, we are well beyond the age of television markets mattering. With all of that in mind, it's time to do the right thing and give Hamilton the NHL team it has so desperately craved over the years. Let's make it happen, if for nothing more than the absolute nuclear reaction that would take place in Ontario. Yeah, I know the Maple Leafs and the Buffalo Sabres and the Detroit Red Wings would hate this. All I can say to that is that the Devils, Islanders, and Rangers have made it work. In fact, I think having those teams in close proximity has been, again, just a positive for the NHL overall. If they can make it work, there's no reason why Hamilton couldn't carve out a slice of the pie for itself. But I think more importantly, when you look at all of this, it wouldn't just be carving out a slice of the pie. They wouldn't just be taking from the pie, though. They would actually be adding to it by adding the type of competition and the type of rivalry that only comes with this sort of close proximity. And it's actually really good for the sport as a whole. Seeing a Hamilton franchise play against Toronto or Buffalo, hell yeah, sign me up for that. It would be absolutely epic. It would be a cauldron of an atmosphere, and that means more money for everyone involved. Should the NHL not be so keen on Hamilton, then screw it. Saskatchewan gets a team, or Halifax. Throw one up in Whitehorse, up in Yukon for all I care. It just needs to be a Canadian presence because those teams in Canada add far more to the overall NHL product than any team in Atlanta could possibly do. Atlanta wants to give hockey a third shot, and that is their prerogative to do so, but under no circumstances should it be allowed to happen. Just like Crunk, some things are just better off left in the past. Thank you for watching this video. If you'd like to know a little bit more about the wild history of NHL team relocations over the years, well, the video in the upper right hand corner of your screen is the place to go. Till next time, I am Cheyenne Hollis, this is The Touchback, and as always, hashtag take it out to the 25.